Mm.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Daily Newcastle, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Iain Mackay. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Mr. Michael Grameslaw, to discuss yesterday's 2-2 draw at St James's Park between Newcastle and Chelsea. Michael, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Certainly better than I was this time. Well, I say this time yesterday at about 2:00 yesterday. Absolutely seething at some referee decisions, but we've got all that to talk about and more.
We have. You could tell that was the instant match reaction. It was quite emotional. But I was at the game and I felt so cheated. Everybody around me felt so cheated.
Yeah.
And in reality, what I think we're going to look at is a very encouraging performance. But we don't want to dive straight into the game, do we? We want to have a look at the way Eddie Howe lined up. And I think we got quite close to the starting lineup actually when I did the preview. I thought Wiley would fill in again at fullback. I thought he would continue with Ramsdale. There was nothing else to pick other than Chow and Shah, and we hoped Hall would start, which he did. Bruno and Tonali were straight in, and my guess was for Ramsey to take the left side, given that it was assuming Joelinton was injured. I think he must be.
Yeah.
And then with Voltemada starting at centre forward and Gordon starting on the left, which I guessed because Barnes had started against Fulham, it was Murphy or Elanga. And I'll have to look back. I think I picked Murphy, which would have mean I picked the team. Not quite so impressive when 6 or 7 players are out through injury. But was that the team that you would have picked, Michael?
Yeah, for me it pretty much was. I think you were looking at it and going, we've got no options at the back. Lewis Miley seems to be, should I say, our best right back option. The only real other option you've got is maybe put Jacob Murphy there and play Elanga in that right wing role. I think you could maybe risk doing that maybe against Burnley or Leeds in the games coming up, but you're not going to do that against Chelsea, Garnacho, Cucurella, Palmer, Caicedo, all can go onto that side. So it was one of those. Right back is probably the most contentious area. No one but Lewis Miley fit in there for me. Ramsey, I was glad to see in centre mid, should I say. Willock probably deserved it more on recent performances, but I thought Ramsey had a pretty decent first half, so that justified that selection. And then the front three, I think, kind of called itself after the game in midweek. Elanga, he's not quite there. Murphy has to really start because he's the main creator, and then Anthony Gordon. I wasn't 100% sure he'd start after a few poor performances, but yeah, he had probably his best performance of the season as well. So it's one of those. I think every change Howe made was justified in that first half, and to be honest, I think at the beginning of the game he got it spot on.
Well, yeah, and I tried to have a look at who was missing and who was coming back to try and guess a little bit about Chelsea. It took about 2 minutes to identify the danger man as Reece James.
Yeah,
he's a wonderful player, isn't he? I mean, thank God he's English. I'll be a big Reece James fan when he's playing right back in the World Cup. But I think he's a twat today. Can I say that? I can say that.
Yeah, you can say
pregnant goldfish. Pregnant goldfish, that's what a twat is. I picked out that Palmer would be rusty and wouldn't be very good, and he wasn't, although he was very good in the first minute. João Pedro, though, you can see why Eddie Howe wanted him. What a forward he was.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
Yeah, and then I thought Fernandes coming into midfield and Reece James going to right back at the start of the second half was a big tactical change.
Changed the game, didn't it?
That Eddie Howe possibly should have responded to quicker than he did. But again, we'll get onto that. Was it a massive defining game for us, Michael? I mean, I was thinking we've got to win it. We've got to win it because a second defeat on the bounce in the Premier League takes all the wind out of our sails. And we're coming in, I
Yeah.
think, into a run of games through to the end of January where we could pick up another 10 points out of 12, or even 15 points out of, that doesn't work, does it? Odd.
15 points out of
15
12.
points out of 15.
We're
Yes,
just that
13,
good.
13 points out of 15 is what I mean. Oh,
Yeah, I get you.
we
Don't
can win
worry.
it ourselves. We can win at Old Trafford. We should be beating Burnley. We should be beating Leeds. We should be doing Crystal Palace at home, to be honest. We beat them 5-0 last year.
Yeah, based off the performance against Leeds as well, they were absolutely dreadful. Leeds, they made Leeds look like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. So I
Yeah,
think it's one of those where they might have the best away record in the league, but they're on the downturn. They've got a lot of players away at AFCON. Again, that's another one of those games where you're looking at and going, that's 3 points. And I think that might be why, to answer the question you're originally going to ask, why the Chelsea draw might not be as bad or as critical to Newcastle as you might think, because great run of results coming up. I think if you were going to drop points, there's a way to do it. And no, the way is not drop a 2-goal lead, but it's to lose and be angry at the referee for decisions, because you still have all the momentum, but you've got to take that anger into your next game.
yeah. Now, I was taking issue a little bit when I watched your immediate match reaction. You were
All right.
consoling yourself with the fact that you might have taken a draw if you'd been offered it before the game. I just think we always
Yeah.
do Chelsea. We did them twice last year, the Carabao Cup as well. And, I can remember 4-1 2 years ago, wasn't it? Sterling scored a great free kick in that, but we just kept going and we battered them. I think we'd won each of the last 4 Premier League games at home to them. So I thought, no, we've got to win this one. I thought it was one that we would get. I think Chelsea of the top 6 are the one we get the best results against overall. So yeah, you were happy with the draw before the game, but you can't
Yeah,
have been
before the
happy.
game, I was content.
You can't have been happy with the way that we got the draw, given the way the
No.
game unfolded. Now,
Yeah, absolutely not.
shall we dive straight into that, or shall we have a quick Ken and a bit longer in the second part to talk about football? I think that's that's the way forward.
Let's have Ken have the spotlight.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Into the game. And I think you describe, because I was worried for the first minute and a half, Michael, as Chelsea danced through our midfield and Cole Palmer put what I think is traditionally described as a delicious lob onto the roof of the net. They looked really good.
Nice.
But after that, Newcastle clicked into gear very quickly, and it was like that Newcastle Spurs game where we scored 6. Everything Newcastle were going for, they were faster, stronger, braver. It was wonderful. What did it look like on the television?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the first 20 minutes, you were looking at it. In fact, not even the first 20 minutes, the first 45. You're looking at it and thinking, where's this Newcastle been all season? You know, we had the intensive press and we actually looked like the Newcastle United side we knew and love, not the Newcastle United side that has, 6-7 injuries, hasn't kept a clean sheet in the Premier League for 77 days and, is pretty much capitulated against every opponent we faced except from Everton recently in the league. But that first half, you were looking at it and going, this is our best performance of the season. And I was sitting there at half time thinking, is this the game, like Arsenal last year, where it's after we've had our butts kicked in a game that's mattered quite a lot. Brentford was last year, 4-2, absolutely, it was a bit embarrassing. Sunderland this year, the Fulham game doesn't really count in midweek because, heavy rotation, people didn't really seem that arsed. But there was a bit more of a reaction, and you saw the reaction that everyone expected in that first half. And I was sitting there thinking, we're actually going to make up for that Derby defeat, and we're going to go into March in a great position. And then, obviously, it only took 4 minutes of the second half for that to go spiraling down. But first half, incredible. Best I've seen us in a long, long time.
Oh, there were so many good performances. There's so many differences to what we're used to seeing. Voltemada not standing like a lamppost. I heard him described as in the Derby match, but not standing on the halfway line with his back to goal, but actually on the shoulder of the centre half, moving forward into the box, ready to respond to crosses that were coming in. Anthony Gordon transformed. We saw him play like that against Barcelona, I think.
Yeah, he
We
was
saw him
really
play
good
like
against
that.
Barcelona.
We saw him play like that in another game, another cup game, which I can't remember which one it was. Was it against Leverkusen that he was looking good? Can't remember. He's done
he was
it once
decent
or
against
twice.
Leverkusen.
Now, I don't know if he just turns up for the Hollywood moments because it's on the telly and it's against a big team. I don't know
Maybe.
why he would do that because he never used to do that. But he should still be able to turn up come Boxing Day when we're away at Old Trafford because that's the only game of the day. That's a real under the lights job. I think we've got to stick with Gordon now. He's discovered this and encourage him. It's harsh on Barnes because Barnes wasn't bad in the second half when he came on. Missed his chance to score the winner twice, of course. But I think that was certainly Voltemada playing 20 yards further up the pitch. Anthony Gordon looking like he can play when he plays for England, for Newcastle, for a change. Jacob Ramsey, what did you make of his performance? I thought he was head and shoulders above anything I've seen from him yet.
Yeah, I actually thought first half he was our best midfielder. And to be honest, maybe that's not setting the bar very high. I think we played over the midfield rather than through the midfield like we normally do in that first half. And to be honest, it worked a treat. When the ball did end up going to Bruno or Tonali, Chelsea's players weren't really expecting it because we were playing diagonals and we were playing down the wings a lot more frequently than what we have seen this season. I think when you play a little bit when you play a little bit more direct and you make the game more about athleticism, let's be honest, there was something that they'd mentioned on the telly. I didn't pick it up until during the game, but Chelsea were the least athletic team in the Premier League this season, which means they'd covered the least amount of ground. And we set out to really press that with the likes of Ramsey, playing that direct ball over the top, and then having Ramsey run into space, having Bruno run into space, Tonali still covering. And it was one of those where Newcastle were dominating because we were just so much more athletic, which is what Eddie Howe wants. But Ramsey was a massive part of that for me. I think he covered a lot of ground, or at least if he covered the same amount as Bruno and Tonali, he was doing a lot more getting forward quick in those role, that attacking sort of midfield role, which it's where I see him a lot more for Newcastle on that left-hand side, getting closer to Gordon, potentially doing the overlap, because we've seen it in previous years. Hall's played left back, Gordon's played left winger, and Joe Linton's been there in the midfield, and the three of them linked up so brilliantly. I think Chelsea, we saw that Ramsey can be that option, but again, he just looks one of those that's not devoid of confidence this season. But I think Saturday, the early kickoff, I think that's a big, big game for Ramsey getting his confidence back because he looked very good.
Yeah, and I think he hasn't played loads of football.
No.
So maybe it's taken this long for him to get up to full match fitness, or full Eddie Howe team match fitness, which we like to think is a little bit higher than most Premier League teams.
Yeah, he's probably not even
that
there
might
yet.
be. I think that's why he hasn't been picked to start very often. But he was picked to start on Saturday. I thought he did really well, and that's 3 performances of the season we've mentioned without talking about Lewis Hall, who I thought was fabulous.
Yeah, Hall had a really good game.
And England's next right back, Lewis Miley. who was so wonderful. The pair of them are so technical that they there's no Trippier hoofed up the line straight out of play. There's no Dan Burn put it out wherever it can go. These guys sometimes they're in such tight situations, and I'm going, just hoof it up the line, get it safe, but they won't. They can control it. They can beat a man. They can cut inside with a pass and accept it back with no space and work it out. I thought Miley, for somebody who was just getting coached how to be a right back on Monday, is incredibly gifted to be able to do that.
Wasn't he?
So intelligent to read the game. They read the game with a different mindset to how you do it when you're playing in midfield. I thought he's very good. Garnacho didn't have a sniff in that first half.
No. To be honest, I completely agree with Miley. Absolutely fantastic. He might end. Is it weird that we've got three full backs, and now I'm sitting there going, you know what, Lewis Miley might be better than all of them. Because I love Lewis Hall, I love Tino Livramento, I love Kieran Trippier, but Lewis Miley, that performance against Fulham, followed up by the performance against Chelsea, you're sitting there and thinking, this kid is still, I can't remember if I think he's 20, 21, and you're sitting there 19. Thinking,
he's 19.
Is he still 19? I thought he turned 20, but
he might just had his birthday.
I still said 21 to be fair, so it doesn't. But even then, he is so young, and have the composure to play right back when you're normally playing, the Bruno Guimaraes role or the Sandro Tonali role. To sit there and go, I'm going to cosplay as Kieran Trippier and do it better than Kieran Trippier, it's truly remarkable. That's no slate on Kieran Trippier, by the way. He's great as well.
Now, I didn't see you were watching the telly. I was in the ground, so I didn't hear this. But somewhere on the television, someone was comparing him to Maldini, which isn't a bad comparison. in the middle of your second performance as a right back. I think that might be a little bit over the top. But no, he's assured. He's calm. That calmness. The thing is, I think Tino comes back and takes over right back, and we've got Lewis Miley in the central midfield. We've got somebody who can step with confidence into Bruno's shoes or Tonali's shoes without everybody thinking, oh, Tonali and Bruno aren't playing, so we're going to really struggle. That's what I think, the confidence that not just he'll have, but the whole of the Newcastle crowd, because he's one of our own,
Oh.
We do love him.
That's the thing. I think everyone has said over the last year, we're terrified, we're screwed if Bruno or Tonali leave. I'm no longer certain of that because I think Bruno would be a massive miss. Obviously, I think they both kind of would be, but Bruno's been the standout this season. Tonali, I thought, had a pretty poor game yesterday. I thought his passing was pretty shocking. But I'm looking at Lewis Miley and I'm going, that is a player that maybe not in 6 months' time, but let's say 18 months, 30 months, could be at the quality to replace Sandro Tonali or Bruno Guimaraes. And if you sell one of them for 60 million and it means Lewis Miley gets more game time, I'd actually be relatively okay with it. Obviously, you've still got that third central midfielder spot, but I'm interested to see how Miley, Tonali and Bruno work as a three consistently before any of that happens. Because it doesn't sound like it'll work when you watch them, but they're all so clever that they'll find a way to make it work, I reckon. It'll be brilliant. Just got to wait.
Miley knows nothing else other than playing with Bruno and Tonali. Come into the first team squad as a 17-year-old when the boys were there. He's just trained with them. That's why there's a little bit of telepathy going on between them when he is in midfield. But I don't get too far ahead and too over the top. But Lewis Miley looks like he's winning a first-team starting berth wherever it is that Eddie can fit him in.
100%.
And maybe Eddie Howe has learned what might happen when he's got another Elliot Anderson type on his hands and he doesn't want to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elliot Anderson is the third midfielder, by the way. That's who you were talking about. Anyway, Newcastle went in leading at 2-0. Voltemada brace. An assist from Gordon, which is almost in the Premier League, which is the first, I think, since January. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
So, it was all looking up good. 2-0, I think, flattered Chelsea. I can remember
100%.
Shah hit that volley so well. If he'd hit it less well and it had gone along the ground, it would have been much more difficult for Sanchez to save. Voldemar almost got a hat trick. It was just past the post. Uh,
Should have had a hat
Lewis
trick.
Hall, of course. Lewis Hall, of course, did have the ball in the back of the net, which nobody's mentioned. But that came from some corner that was recycled. He took it really well outside of his left foot from the right side. And I still
Yeah.
don't know what it was disallowed for. I think there was a foul in the box or something, some wrestling in the
Yeah,
box.
so when Sanchez is going to throw the ball out, Fabian Schär just basically gets in the way. So Sanchez's throw, instead of going high, it just bounces against the floor and goes straight to Lewis Hall. It's a definite foul, unfortunately. But yeah, I from hearing the uproar in the ground, I could tell people hadn't really seen that Fabian Schär had been a little bit naughty there.
Well, just straight after Voldemar had opened scoring, Gordon had a shot that came over. He let it bounce and he wellied it. And Sanchez pulled off a very good tip
Nice.
over. But he should have that was just a side foot. He should have done a side foot like Voldemar did for his second to either side of the goalkeeper. That would have been very difficult to save. So I do think we could have been 3 or 4 ahead at half time. And of course, if that's a different second
100%.
half, Chelsea are totally deflated at that point and not thinking about coming back. They must have felt up, having had a little period at the end of the first half where they did find some spaces where they probably were expecting to find them before the 40th minute, and going in just 2 down.
Yeah.
That probably gave them a little bit of a lift. Certainly when Maresca said, "It's only 2, we get a goal early." And look, I've got Enzo Fernandez to bring on. He might have said, and Eddie Howe will just watch what happens until we score two and get equal, and then he'll make some changes which will counteract that. But anyway, getting a little bit ahead into the second half, Michael, and we are 2-0. We are strolling this, lasted for about 3 minutes. I thought
Yeah.
the foul that I think it was Ramsey that fouled Palmer.
It was, yeah.
Really soft, wasn't it? Palmer was looking for a free kick straight away. It went down like somebody had shot him from the stands.
Yeah, 100%.
But
He's
still,
bought it, but he's done well. We do it every game, so I can't be too
yeah.
angry about it. But he's done very well to buy the free kick.
But it was. I've seen 30 yards. I don't know if it was that far out. I still thought it was a chance of a good shot because far enough out to get the ball up and down. But I thought Ramsey had set it up right. I thought he covered that right hand side with the wall, but obviously not. A fantastic free kick though. I mean, in off the base of the post, which is close for Ramsdale, but not close enough. And 2-1 after just 3 minutes took the wind out of Newcastle's sails a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, just on the note of that goal, I did briefly mention it yesterday, but Ramsdale's positioning for it is pretty terrible. I do have to say Bruno doesn't jump and it goes over his head, which is not great. I'm not sure if he does jump, whether he gets anywhere near it anyways. It's a well taken, well placed free kick. There's not really a lot of pace on it, but Ramsdale's starting position, he's practically touching the far post. And it's one of those where I've said this 3 times, I think, already on this podcast this season. If Ramsdale has one more step to his left, instead of covering his near post, overly covering his near post, he saves it. And unfortunately, Ramsdale's had, I don't know how many starts now. It'll be maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe more. But have a save percentage in the Premier League of 43%, and to have conceded the amount of goals Newcastle United have, Ramsdale is really coming under scrutiny, particularly for me, because I think his positioning is pretty terrible. His reflexes are great. In fact, you know what? I wouldn't even go as far to say that, because the one thing we haven't mentioned in the first half, Pedro Neto's handball goal, where the cross comes in, it's recycled from a free kick. Neto heads it, it drops down, it hits him on the hand, and a bit like Romero's goal again for Spurs, it just sort of trickles over the line, and then Ramsdale just goes, and just falls to his side, and it's like, what the f- are you doing? Like, how slow are you diving for a goalkeeper? And for me, I'd love to see a goalkeeper come in because Ramsdale has probably cost us 4 points already, in my opinion. And while a lot of people will disagree, it's at least 4 points for me. And that's almost as bad as Nick Pope. So, yeah, for me, big Ramsdale howler.
Well, I think you need to find a keeper from Europe. I don't think there's a keeper in the Premier League that comes in that's much more of an improvement on those two
I
without
agree.
pinching one of the big boys, and we ain't going to do that.
Completely agree with that.
Um,
Completely agree.
Now, it wasn't a complete capitulation like you might have expected. Chelsea did come out. They came out with a sense of purpose. They were much, much better at the start of the
Yeah.
second half, and they raced at us. But it didn't knock us completely off our stride because we came racing back just 5 minutes after their first goal with quite a nice ball across to Gordon coming into the goal line to be able to do a pullback. But that was a penalty, wasn't it? Chalaba took him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, 100%. Shalaba's shoulder barges him. It's far too much pressure. And the funny thing for me, based on this, by the way, is every single person on this planet, and there's two sets of fans that don't think it's a penalty. Joe Cole was even saying, oh yeah, it's a penalty. Ali McCoist was going livid. The only two sets of fans that don't think it was Chelsea fans, obviously, and Arsenal fans who just seem to have such a hatred for Newcastle that it even exceeds rivals from London. They hate us more than they hate teams in London, and it shows so frequently. And it's like every single other person on this planet thinks that's a penalty, and it's ridiculous. Well, except from the VAR.
Well, I think, to be fair, conceding that goal so early and then not getting that penalty, very, very deflating. I could understand how the spring went out of Newcastle's step a little bit. However, sitting in the ground watching it, we could see just from the sheer energy expended that the spring was getting out of the step of one or two players that we had good substitutes on the bench for.
Yeah.
I think Voltemada should have come off at 55 minutes and Ritter come on. I think Ramsey was like a spare part for most of that game. His touch was appalling. Just as I was screaming for him that he should have been off, he then did an absolutely fantastic dummy to get round the back of Cucurella, made him look a right Charlie. But he didn't do very much. His crossing
Not in the
wasn't
second
brilliant,
half now.
and he certainly couldn't. He couldn't find a teammate when it came to it. So I would have brought somebody in. Do you know what? I might have brought Barnes on the right and left Gordon on. Unless Gordon was really knackered, or Howe is thinking, I need him at Old Trafford. I don't know why Gordon came off. He was in such good form. I didn't think
Yeah, he was our best player.
I didn't think his performance had dropped off. They must have been thrilled to bits to see him being
No,
taken
not
off
at
and
all.
Elanga being brought on. Anyway, I think we should have done that at least 10 minutes early, Michael, and not doing it meant that we were tired. And it's from one of our free kicks, I think. The whole team's up. Sanchez gets the ball, does a really quick kick. João Pedro is clever, out jumps Chow, and Chow does slip to give him a couple of yards head start. And João Pedro does
Yeah.
what Eddie Howe would have expected him to do and why Eddie Howe wanted him up at Newcastle at the start of the summer. Took it really well. No blame on Ramsdale there. It just a very good goal. I think 2 touches from the goalkeeper's hand to the back of the net, though, which is poor when we've got
It's
11
abysmal.
players in between them.
Yeah, and we're one goal up.
Yeah,
When you're one goal up, there is no reason why, if you've got a set piece or you don't, there is no reason why you leave what was João Pedro, a £40 million striker, 40, 50 million. You do not leave a 40, 50 million pound striker one-on-one with your centre-back when you're ahead in the game. If you're chasing the game or it's, let's say if it was 2-2, I'd understand it because you're pushing for the winner. There is no need to leave a prolific player like João Pedro up front on his own alongside, a one-on-one with Malick Thiaw, because just in case something happens, like Malick Thiaw slips, you leave yourself in the gutter. And I'm not saying, prepare for everyone to slip and prepare for the worst, but there should have at least been another player close enough that if the worst did happen, there's covering. It's amateur from Newcastle, and unfortunately, it's another bit of, I don't want to say a lack of common sense, but just not being smart enough while we're in the lead and not being able to withstand pressure in other games. Not in this game, because there was no pressure, really. But we just can't hold on to a lead, and we're not smart enough to do that at the minute. I don't know if it's because we're missing a true, I don't want to say leader, because Bruno is a leader, but a clear head in the 60th minute to go, right, why are we doing that? Let's not do that. Let's leave another man back. And I know that's good. People are going to say, well, actually, we've been sitting back on Leeds ever since the start of the season, and we've been saying not to do that. Having two players against one,
having defensive cover is common sense, as you say. It should have been there. And unfortunately, we didn't do that. So it's 2-2, and there's about half an hour to go with the injury time that we've got. I am going to interrupt here, Michael, because I have found, and I forgot to ask you to do it, so I found it to do it myself, the Zencastr advert.
Which
I'm going to slot in here because we've been going half an hour and we've only had one advert, and that can't be right. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out a clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. Thanks, Iain. You're welcome, Iain. Improvised. Part 3. It's 2. There's half an hour to go. Chelsea brought Enzo Fernandez on, taken Gusto off, I think, and moved Reece James back to right back, who then came and played in midfield anyway. And they were running right through us. They had an extra man, and they were running through the middle of the team. And at that stage, I would have taken a point straight away at that stage, because it looked like Chelsea could have gone on and scored number 3, number 4, number 5. But they didn't, because I think we were defending well still. I think we still had it. It's about that time that Howe makes his substitutions. It's Barnes for Gordon, Alanga for Murphy, Wissa for Voltemada.
Voltemada for Wissa. Yeah.
Which we could have done 10 minutes earlier, easy. And actually, although it's a basketball game, we do get more of a foothold in that. And I think
we do.
After Ramsdale has made one very good save from Garnacho, and then Garnacho, sniffing blood, has decided to whack 2 or 3 good openings way over the bar for us. Thank you very much, Andre, Alejandro, whatever you're called. But we had the best chances, I think, in those last 10 minutes. I was thinking...
Yeah, 100%.
You know, the move that I thought was absolutely delightful, probably where I was sitting, I could see it unfold, was the one that ended with Bruno doing a fabulous curling cross that Barnes ran onto and volleyed so well. Yeah. And from the angle I was at, that was in. I was on my feet with my arms in the air, together with the rest of the Leazer's corner, only to realise it had gone the wrong side of the post. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would have been us stealing any points if we'd scored that.
No, definitely not.
There was a fantastic throw as well from Ramsdale, by the way, right down the centre of the pitch. We saw Alanga's pace as he got to it and ran through, and he chopped back, and Barnes, 10 yards out, just to the square of him, and he shot wide. Always so disappointing. We had the chance to win it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of criticism about that Alanga chance, and I am going to leap to his defence for a change. But if you look at the chance again and think of the point where Anthony Alanga will have decided, I'm going to take on my man and I'm going to get a shot away. Barnes and Wissa are 25 yards behind him. Even if they're shouting and screaming, he's got no idea where they are because they're 25 yards behind him. At the point of where he takes the shot, maybe if he hesitated a little bit, he would have noticed someone was there. But the entire time he's making that run, he's 25, 30 yards ahead of everyone else. And he hasn't got eyes in the back of his head, unfortunately. I've seen a lot of, there was no unjust criticism there from you, but I've seen a lot online where it's like, Alanga's an absolute effing idiot. How did he not know they were there? Because he hasn't got eyes in the back of his head. And unfortunately, his decision-making is a big negative in his game, but that wasn't an example of it. And I actually thought he came on and did quite well.
That decision was a few seconds earlier than when he actually took the shot as well, because he's got to make that decision to chop back in to get it on his right foot to shoot. I agree entirely with you. I wasn't criticising him. I was just counting those chances in the last 10 minutes, which could have given us a 3-2 win, which would have evened things up for the biased. That referee, by the way, has Chelsea tattooed on his arse, because it wasn't just the penalty that we didn't get.
No, there's a lot, wasn't there?
The handball, I didn't think was a penalty in the first half, but other refs would have given it.
Potentially,
the little pull back on Harvey Barnes right at injury time. That was, he knew that happened. He thought, he's pulled him there. And he looked over to his linesman to say, did you see him pull him there? And the linesman didn't do anything. He went, you didn't see it. I probably imagined it then. I didn't do a thing. So the ball's out for a goal kick at the Newcastle end when you suddenly see on VAR that somebody's checking whether there's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I mean, surely they've already in their head said that must be a foul for them to decide that's the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, in which case the game should have restarted with a free kick on the edge of the box. I'm clutching at straws here. It's the 95th minute. We've already played injury time, but that's how long we kept going. I think, overall, Michael, Newcastle came out of the game with great credit. A very, very encouraging result. I think they were caught by a really good performance, particularly from Reece James. But I thought Fernandes was very good when he came on. Cucurella, he's just a shit Colaccini, but he played very well as well, as he always does.
Had a good game,
Sideshow Bob, we don't like him. For no justifiable reason other than he's identifiable by the crazy hair. That's the only reason he gets booed. I take a lot of positives out of it. I'm encouraged. I think, having watched Man U look wide open at the back still against Villa today, and watched Bruno Fernandes limp off with a bad hamstring, I think we've got a chance of winning at Old Trafford on Boxing Day. Which,
I agree.
Which, to be honest, if we beat Chelsea and got a draw at Old Trafford, we'd think that was a good 4 points. So we can keep going, keep the momentum going. What do you take away from the game, Michael?
I think it's one of those we've shown that even with a game in midweek, we can come out and have the best performance of the season. The only issue is that it's so unpredictable. But I think we only have 4 defenders, but we can be very confident in those 4. I know we conceded 2, but Miley, brilliant at right back. The other 3 are great as well. Up front, Voltamadas finally scoring again. It was 1 goal in 11 games before this. Now he's got 2. Yeah. Might get back on it. Gordon, best game we've seen from him as well. So it's one of those where there are a lot of positives. I mean, I was dreading it before the game because Voltamada wasn't scoring. Gordon wasn't really doing anything. And I was thinking we were going to have to play Alex Murphy. But I came out of it gutted that we didn't get the 3 points. And that's because it was a very good performance. We could have had 5 or 6 if it was a different day. We could have lost on a different day as well. So all in all, we were unlucky, but I'm excited for Old Trafford. And if we play like we did against Chelsea, then it's just going to be another Ruben Amorim defeat. And I would love it.
Basketball. It's going to be another basketball game. I would love it
if we beat them. 100%.
Yes, indeed. Yes, nice impersonation, Michael. Thank you very much indeed for joining me to discuss that game. We have rattled on a little bit longer than we should have done, but hey, there was a lot to talk about. Personally, I agree. that was the best game I've seen for, I don't know. That was the most exciting game I've sat through since I can't even remember his name. Matty Longstaff scored the winner against Manchester United, and I think Steve Bruce was manager then. That's how long ago that was. That was an absolutely wonderful game to sit through. So up and down, incredible.
Great football.
And yes, I got hugged and punched by the guy sitting either side of me in the crowd, and
at the same time
beforehand. Yeah. No.
Well, I hope you're all right.
Yeah. Oh no, it was all good. It was all done in good spirits, and we all left talking about how cheated we felt. You say we could have won 6-0 on a different day. We definitely could have won 6-0 with a different referee, but that's for other people to argue. Thanks for joining me, Michael. If you've liked what you've heard, you can obviously like and subscribe. Don't want to miss any of this gold. Follow us on all the social medias. If you're checking out our show description below, you'll see our link to all of those. We're on them all, I think, aren't we, Michael? I don't understand them all.
We are indeed.
Look how old I am. Bloody TikTok. What the hell's that? That's the noise my watch makes. Join us. We've got who we playing when? Oh no, we've got Manchester United, haven't we? We might have some time to sit back and look at what we need in the transfer market before we do another game preview. It's just been preview and review over and over again for the last couple of weeks. But anyway, Thanks for joining, Michael. Thank you everyone for listening, and we shall see you just after Christmas. So Merry Christmas.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.